I have to film 3 videos, 2 of which are wrap-ups, in 2 hours. God have mercy on my soul. Please wish me luck. Hello my lovely readers and queers, welcome back to my channel. I am Franny and I am finally sitting down to film the wrap-ups that I owe you. These are books that I've read 3 months ago at this point, so I just want to get this done, honestly. I will try to be as quick as I can because I do not even want to pretend that I can go into details when it comes to these books, because again, it's been 3 months and I do not have the best memory, unfortunately, but I will try to do my best. I will try to give you all the relevant information about the books that I read in the month of May, because today we're talking about the month of May, the books that I read during the month of May, if I liked them or not. And that's all the wrap-up is in the end, so let's just jump right in. In the month of May, I read 3 audiobooks and 2 graphic novels for a total of 5 books. And I've enjoyed all of them. Well, different degrees of appreciation, but the average rating is 4.3, which is pretty high, so it was a good reading month indeed. Starting up with The Poisons We Drink by Bethany Baptiste. This one I listened to on audio, and the audiobook is narrated by Lynette R. Freeman, whom I adore. She is such a great voice narrator. Her performances are always incredible, and this one was no different. In The Poisons We Drink, we follow Venus. She is an 18-year-old brewer. She brews love potions, even though it's illegal, but it is a very lucrative business, if very dangerous. Brewing potions, especially love potions, has serious side effects for the brewer, and every time she brews a love potion for which she is paid thousands and thousands of dollars, she's basically risking her life. This story takes place in a world where witches and humans coexist. However, it is a very strained coexistence. Most humans do not like witches, they fear witches. There are human vigilantes that actively attack witches, and there are rules in place to limit witches' rights as well as their freedom. For instance, no more than 13 witches can be in a specific place at a specific time. If it's more than that, their big presence is perceived as a threat by humans, and therefore there will be a police task force sort of thing that will intervene in a violent way. So I'm sure you can already see how the author used being a witch as a metaphor for being black in America, being different, being from a minority. And for someone who has studied multiple times throughout her school years Hitler's regime before and during World War II, these were the kind of rules that were in place against Jews. This is the setting that we find ourselves in. However, the story truly begins when Venus's mom is killed, and when the Grand Witcher, who is the highest authority in the witches community, tells Venus that she has apprehended the person who killed her mother, and when she asks Venus to brew a specific love potion to make this person pay, Venus accepts, even though by doing so she will find herself trapped in a very dangerous political game. This book is very complex, multi-layered, multifaceted. We have so many flawed characters that act out of rage, out of guilt, out of vendetta, sometimes in a selfish way, sometimes in an altruistic way that it's almost taken too far. And I just appreciated how brilliant this book is, how skillful the author was, how the whole thing is basically a metaphor for the Black experience in North America, their past traumas, their guilt, the hardships that they have to face every single day, just stepping outside of their door. I also loved the queer representation in the story. Venus herself is bisexual, and we have a very important non-binary side character. There are so many twists and turns. It really felt like a long book, but I think the audiobook helped me with that to kind of speed it along a little bit. I gave this book 4.25 stars for mainly 2 reasons. The first one is that at times it really felt a bit too long. Like the story was dragging a bit too much. In some places, I think the pacing could have been a little bit better. And the second thing is that I struggled a lot with the relationship between Venus and her younger sister. I understand that Venus was the older sister, so she was trying to protect her younger sister, going above and beyond, especially with the death of their mother. she was in charge. She was the one responsible for her sister, but her sister did not deserve it for the context, for the setting in which the story takes place, for the harsh reality that they're living in. The sister was a spoiled brat, and she was not acknowledging how much her older sister was doing for her sake, for her benefit. And that truly annoyed me to no end. Like, it was a bit too much to be acceptable. We're not talking about a 10-year-old. She was 16, 17. She was old enough to understand the situation. And the fact that she acted in a very reckless way and endangered her older sister, who was already dealing with a lot and had already a lot on her plate, it just annoyed me a bit too much. So I really struggled with that. But it was a great story. It was a wonderful debut, and I honestly cannot wait to see what else this author can do, because this book was incredible. It was a wonderful debut, and I am very glad that I read it. Next, I read a graphic novel called Rain by Joe Hill and illustrated by Zoe Thorogood, and I love, oh my goodness, she has a couple of graphic memoirs out, and I need to read those because her art style, her illustrations were stunning. Chef's kiss. Literally, I was so impressed. Anyways, this graphic novel is a dystopian, post-apocalyptic, cli-fi sort of graphic novel. We are following a woman called Hanisaku who is about to move in with her girlfriend Yolanda. However, that same day, out of the blue, it starts pouring rain, but it's not rain, it's nails. Nails start pouring down from the sky, and basically they kill everyone who was outside when these nails were falling, including Yolanda. And so Honeysuckle kind of embarks on a journey to try and figure out what's happening, and she will meet terrible people along the way. It is very dreary, sad, depressing, but I don't know, I really liked it, even though it was truly grim and depressing. But the illustrations were so beautiful. Again, I was speechless. I just liked how weird the story was. Yeah, it just worked for me. I give it 5 stars. That's literally all I have to say. Next, I read another graphic novel, which was my favorite read of the month, and that is Chef's Kiss by Jarrett Melendez. This is a lovely, funny, heartwarming, romantic, queer graphic novel where we follow our main character Ben Cook, who just graduated from university and now he's trying desperately to find a job. He would like something in journalism, proofreading, publishing, but he realizes pretty fast that he cannot find one single job because every place that he's applying for, even places that have nothing to do with journalism, require so many unnecessary skills and years of previous work experience that of course he doesn't have because he just graduated, which very relatable situation. And so when he stumbles upon a restaurant that is looking to hire someone with no experience required, he decides to give it a go. But this is not a restaurant like all the others. While it is true that he does not need experience to be hired, he does have to go through a series of challenges to get the job. And these challenges involve shadowing the restaurant's other cooks, learning how to make certain recipes, and then prepare these recipes for a final taste. But it's not the chef who has to taste these dishes to approve them. The taster is a very peculiar pig, and if this pig likes what Ben Cook cooks, then he has the job. And while he's shadowing the cooks and learning how to make all these recipes, Ben is sort of developing a crush on one of his future co-workers, a sous chef named Liam. And that's basically the story in a nutshell, and it was so cute. It was so darn cute. I adored it. It was the darnest cutest thing ever, and it had everything, okay? It had cute illustrations, it had food, it had queer friendships. Adorable. It was just adorable. It was so cute. I recommend this graphic novel to everyone, honestly. Just give yourself 1 hour and you can fly through it, but it was so good. I loved it so much. 5 huge stars. And now we move on to something much more serious, and that is All City by Alex DiFrancesco. This is a queer post-apocalyptic cli-fi novel set in New York. It is set in a future where climate change and global warming have gotten so bad that there are terrible, crazy storms. Some storms are more manageable than others, but this story begins with a particular catastrophic storm that literally floods New York City. So much so that only the very top floors of high buildings are not flooded by water. And we follow different characters as they try to escape this situation, as they try to find safety, and when buildings can be entered again, even though it's chaos everywhere, they try to find a new home for themselves and create a sort of society from nothing. Find a way to survive in a city that seems abandoned, where all rich people who can afford to leave the city have left to go inland, and only those who struggle every day to live are left in a city where nothing works anymore. I give this book 4 stars. I thought that it was very interesting to read, very interesting to see how people act when faced with tragedy and hardships. And so they have to try and fend for themselves and to protect themselves from others who will take advantage of the fact that there are no rules in place anymore. It was pretty bleak, not optimistic in terms of what humanity can do when it's brought to its knees. In a way, even though it was very hard to read, particularly when we get to things like gun violence and rape, as well as hatred of all kinds, while it was very hard to read and see all that, I found it quite realistic. And I might be saying that because I have no faith in humanity whatsoever. We're just getting worse and worse. I don't know, I just found it very realistic, and that requires understanding humans and how they think and how their ways of thinking translate into their actions. Like, I think it requires a knowledge of humanity and the human psyche. If something like that were to happen, I think this is how people would behave, which scares me. But, that's the truth. I have no faith in humanity. Anyways, 4 stars. It deserves more recognition. I think it's a very well-written book. I actually came across this book in a bookstore when I was in New York. Otherwise, I don't think I would have been aware of it. I don't think I would have seen it anywhere else because I never see it anywhere. Yes, it is bleak, but I also think that it has a lot to offer. I loved how we follow different characters, and each character has a specific way of thinking, of talking, particularly one character from the quote-unquote slums, if we want to put it that way. And they come from different backgrounds, very different life experiences. We have a very poor 20-year-old black woman. We have a genderqueer teen and a teen-year-old, I think. And then we have a white, rich, entitled girl who is depressed, even though technically she wouldn't have any reason to be depressed. The conclusion, personally, it pissed me off, but in a good way, because I cared, because perhaps deep down I'm optimistic. I want my justice, I want my happy ending, and that's not what I got. But again, it was realistic, so you gotta appreciate it for that. And the last book that I listened to in the month of May was a bit of a disappointment, and that is Guncle Abroad by Steven Rowley. Now, this is the sequel to The Guncle, and I read The Guncle a couple of years ago, I want to say, and I really liked it. I thought it was very funny, it was humorous, it was one of those stories that just tugs at your heartstrings and it makes you feel for the characters and you just care about everyone and you want everyone to be happy. It was about a gay uncle who has to take care of his nephews for the summer because their dad has just lost his wife, their mother, and is struggling with addiction, so he decides to go to rehab because his kids need him and he needs to snap out of it. So he leaves his kids with the brother, and the uncle takes care of them for the summer and tries to help them through the grief over losing their mother, which of course is not something that can be fixed in a couple of months. But anyways, in The Guncle Abroad, which takes place 5 years after the first book, the kid's dad is about to get married to a very rich lady from Italy. And so they're all going to Italy for a destination wedding. And before they go to Italy, Patrick, the Guncle, he takes the nephews with him for a European trip. And during this trip, he basically has to convince the kids that it is not so bad that the father is getting remarried so soon and they have to get on board with the program, basically. He doesn't say it in such harsh tones, but that's the gist of it, which I think it's pretty ridiculous, by the way, because the kids have lost their mom and you cannot just expect them to welcome someone else after 5 years, but that's nor here nor there. I don't really have much to say about this book because, first of all, the premise sounds a bit too forced for me. Again, a dad that loves his kids, would he get remarried after 5 years that his wife has passed away? You shouldn't. Do what you want, but you shouldn't. The premise was already kind of eh. Then again, you have the fact that the uncle has to take care of the kids and he has to, make sure that they deal with everything in an appropriate way, guided by an adult, which should be the father's responsibility, but somehow it falls on the uncle's shoulders. But okay, whatever, do what you want. He's a good uncle, he loves the kids, he wants to help them through this tough time. The dad knows that the kids with the uncle have a special bond, so maybe he'll help them better than what he can do. Okay, fine, have me believe whatever you want. What I didn't like, my biggest issue with this book, the thing that annoyed me the most, was the humor. I wasn't having fun. Everything felt so out of place and just not funny. You know when you have boomers, right, trying to make fun of woke people. They make their jokes and they think that they will land their jokes, right? That they will gain people's sympathy. But what you actually have is an old, very specific type of boomer who makes fun of serious issues and thinks because let's be honest, it's a he doesn't understand. And instead of making people laugh, you have those awkward coughs and silences and everyone in the audience is uncomfortable. This is exactly what it was. I was uncomfortable. It was not funny. The way that the Guncle would make fun of everyone, including the lesbian aunt, which, by the way, could have been a nice addition, right, to the story. It could have been a nice part of the plot, right? You could have done something with that. Instead, no, you have this rivalry between the gay uncle and the lesbian aunt for no reason whatsoever. It was not funny. I don't know. I felt uncomfortable, It was awkward laugh, like just be quiet, right? There was no need for this book. It didn't land the way it should have, and I don't get it. I don't get it. Also, if you want to set a story in Italy, please do your research. Okay? That's all I'm gonna say about that. So just for the sake of good memories and because the first book was actually good, I gave this one 3 stars. And this is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching it. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments down below if you have read any of these books. And if you remember what you read back in May, let me know in the comments. Thank you so much again for watching this video. I will see you very soon with my next one, which should be my June wrap-up if I manage to film it right now. But until then, have a good one, take care, and keep reading queer books. Warm hugs. Bye.